Do you believe that you can heal yourself? Too often we give our power away to something outside of ourselves, and rarely, if ever, trust and tap into our innate healing power and intuition. Everyone has this capability to heal in ways we never thought possible. It's your sovereign right to claim and have true health and lasting wellness. Now, here is the host of the Dr. Dolores Show, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to our next episode. And we're going to talk about grief today because I feel that this has been up for a lot of people, and I've actually had some requests to talk about this further because let's face it, everybody goes through grief in one way, shape, or form. I want to welcome you to my show. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino. This is the Dr. Dolores Show. I'm a nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, and I help people bridge the physical with the spiritual, but also the invisible with the visible. So in today's show, we're going to be talking about navigating grief's journey moving forward. And I'm just going to share a couple of things here. Grief is a powerful and universal emotion that touches every life at some moment in time. It is a journey of profound loss and sorrow, but it also is a testament of the resilience of the human spirit. Just think about that. Navigating grief can feel like riding a roller coaster. There are highs and lows and moments of intense sadness, anger, guilt, rage, maybe, and even moments of unexpected laughter and joy. These emotions are all part of the healing process, and it's crucial to embrace them rather than suppress them. Grief is a challenging journey, but it also could be a transformative one. By understanding its complexities and embracing the roller coaster of emotions, seeking support and finding personal healing, we can move forward with grace and resilience. Remember, you are not alone on this journey, and there is hope for brighter days ahead. Remember, this too shall pass. It always does. Every person's journey through grief is unique, and there's no set timeline for healing. And today we're going to share some stories about grief recovery and things that you can do to not only help yourself if you're going through grief, help maybe a family member or somebody you know who is grieving, because so often there are times where we are just lost for words or don't know what to say, so sometimes we don't say anything and just pretend that nothing's going on and there's an elephant in the room. So in this episode, we're going to delve into the intricate world of grief, offering insights and guidance on how to navigate this challenging path and ultimately find the strength to move forward. So, with that being said, people are like, grief, it's just like, it is like the elephant in the room. It's like, it's such a personalized experience. You could be grieving the loss of a loved one, maybe somebody passed away, included of a pet. You could be grieving the loss of things that never materialized in your life and you wish they had. You could be grieving the loss of a job, or the bottom of your world just pretty much fell out. You've lost everything, your home, your job, your car. Grief could be anything. And you know what? It also could be, believe it or not, when you have surgery and you have an organ removed or a body part. Your body goes through grief and a grief process with that, as well as the emotional, mental, spiritual, and dimensional aspects that happen. I think too often people are at a loss for words as what to say to somebody if they're grieving, or our society feels that there has to be a timeline on grief. Who made that up? I mean, where did that come from? Oh, let me guess. We had to get you back into work, so you had to consolidate your grief. Grief is like one of those things that It's very personal. It's very individualized. You just don't know from moment to moment what you're experiencing or feeling. You could be fine going through life, and then all of a sudden, you're just overwhelmed with emotion. And then it dissipates. I kind of describe it as the ebbing and flowing of the ocean. It's like, the waves come in, they recede, the waves come in, and then they recede. And then all of a sudden, this big wave comes in, and then it recedes. Grief is like that, and how you experience it is, I find that that's the best analogy for me. For some people, like we were sharing earlier, it's like a roller coaster. It's like you're on the high, and then all of a sudden it's like you're going down, and you hit the bottom, and you're just so overwhelmed. It's almost like I call it like a matrix of emotions, or 50 shades of emotion. We talked about 50 shades of gray, that movie that was there a few years ago. But it's like 50 shades of emotion, because it's just like you're going through all these different emotions almost in rapid fire, and in quick sequential type of a process. So when you are grieving, the best thing to do is to just be kind to yourself, have some compassion. You're going to experience memories. Memories are going to come and trigger things, especially if lost a loved one. Sometimes you're just on overwhelm. You don't know what your life is going to look like without them in it. Life will go on. It's just going to be different now. I don't know if you ever really heal from grief completely. Um, it's like you learn to live with a new version of who you are moving through this process. And I feel that it could be so enriching and so full of possibilities for you to take a deep dive into yourself as well, and gain wisdom from the experience that you're having. Now, what people don't realize sometimes is that, spirituality and stuff like that, first of all, we need to define spirituality and being religious. They're two separate concepts. Religion is like an outward demonstration of a connectedness to an organization, a religious organization. Spirituality is the inner relationship you have between yourself and your higher power, or yourself and God, or whoever you believe, Buddha, or maybe you don't believe in anything. That's a belief too. I mean, whatever that is, it's, finding comfort in that and connecting with that is also going to help you navigate through this. When we have the spirituality aspect, is sometimes, to make us feel better, maybe we do like prayer and meditation, and just our beliefs and what we believe in afterlife could be a possibility. But also, creating rituals and ceremonies around that and celebrating life. I'm so excited now that we don't have like ho hum, funerals and wakes. It's like celebrations of life. I mean, that's what it's really about. It's about, honoring the person and their soul and what they've accomplished and how they touch the lives of others in their lifetime, and celebrating that. What is, interesting as well too, is reaching out to community and having people around you that could help you and support you. And sometimes it's not about them feeling like, trying to fix it for you or anything like that. It's more about holding the space for you. And what I mean by holding the space, it's just like they're there for you. No words need to be to be exchanged, but they're physically present and with you no matter what's happening. And, oftentimes, when we are in that position of holding the space for people, we almost feel at a loss as to what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to make them feel better? We're always trying to fix something sometimes. And, there's really nothing to fix. It's just allowing the process to be what it is. You need to be patient and understanding with yourself, and just allowing yourself to experience everything that you're feeling. And, yeah, you're going to get angry. The tears are going to come, maybe. You're going to be, maybe remorseful. It's a process. And, Dr. Kubler-Ross did a lot of research about grieving, and her work, she talked about different phases. There's no linear component as to which phase you go through and when you'd go through it. You're going to probably go through all those phases in whatever order you need to in order for you to maneuver through what you're doing and how and where you're going to be going. It's about accepting and surrendering just to what is in that moment and being okay with that without judging or criticizing it. You're in uncharted territory. And for some of us, losing, a parent or a loved one, it's devastating. Especially, when you feel like the time you just feel like you never had enough time with them. But just know that as you're moving through this process, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Surround yourself with things that you love to do. Listen to music, listen to, read inspirational things. There's lots of stuff out there on the internet about moving through grief and just coming into harmony with yourself. It's a time for deep transformation and growth. And we're going to talk more about that when we come back from a break. But, just kind of ponder right now, the aspects and the things that you've experienced in your life. And maybe, you're going through the grieving process right here, right now in this moment, and know that you're going to be okay. Nobody gets out of this world without going through it in one way, shape, or form. It may be delivered in different ways and different aspects and through different venues, but everybody experiences grief. And it's how we are able to embrace that, learn from that makes us more resilient as time goes on. So when we return from break, we're going to talk more about grief and things that you could actually help somebody with and be in support of if you have somebody who is grieving. You're listening to the Dr. Dolores Show. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, energy whisperer, and we're talking about grief today and learning to move beyond that and create resilience in your life as well. So we're going to break right now, and we'll be right back shortly.
Do you trust your instincts? Many of us don't. Yet this is the key to connecting to your innate healer within and your intuition. Tune in to the Dr. Dolores Show with nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, to receive insights and tools to realign with your inner wisdom for lasting health and true wellness. Listen for the Dr. Dolores Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Dr. Dolores Show with Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to Dolores at drdoloresfazzino.com. Now, back to the program.
Well, welcome back, everybody. We're talking about grief's journey and moving forward with it. And, before our break, we were talking about how it's so important to fully embrace the experience that you're having right now, because it is so rich with possibilities and opportunities for some great deep growth and transformation. And, just remember, you need to be patient and understand yourself better. So you allow yourself to just be in the moment. This is what it's really all about right now. Just experiencing what you're feeling and you're sensing, and doing so without judging or criticizing. You're back here with the Dr. Dolores Show, and I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. And I think we're going to talk about as a grieving person, what is really important to know. And like we touched on that before, grief is such a personal thing, because we're all of us are so uniquely different. So I want to say, make a blanket statement about grief and how long you should be able to maneuver through this and what's, culturally acceptable and what's not. We need to throw all that out the window, because you are an individual having your own experience with this. And, you're going to feel a whole full range of emotions. Like I said, it could be like 50 shades of gray, but I call it 50 shades of emotion. But feel everything, because this is so essential. And it's almost like when you're grieving the loss of something, you get to go deeper with a lot of your emotions. So maybe it's grief layered on grief and grief and grief. Do you understand what I'm saying? Sometimes it's like opening the lid of, I call it Pandora's box, and all this stuff is going to start coming out, and you feel like you're going to have no control over it. The good news is that, as you experience those feelings, they come to neutrality, and then they kind of don't have such an impact on you or trigger. So important is self-care. Please, please, please just be kind to yourself. If you're tired, listen to your body, take that nap. It's okay to sleep. When people are grieving, there's so much stress and all the emotions and everything's kind of happening. Your body is processing a lot of information and maybe purging information as well. And sometimes the best way to do that is just taking a nap or sleeping. You may need to sleep more during this time, and that's okay. You're just allowing yourself to heal in other dimensions when you sleep. Seek support. Sometimes, we feel like we're alone, and the illusion is we're never alone. Okay. Yes, we have people who are our earthly companions or our friends or resources that we could reach out to get support for that. Also, check in with yourself and ask the spirit world to come and help you. And I know this might be a little far-fetched for some people, but I'm going to invite you to just ask the universe to send you support. And just imagine yourself just being embraced by this beautiful warm blanket. Because the universe does have your back. Sometimes we aren't able to feel it or sense it because maybe we've kind of pulled ourselves away from that aspect of ourselves. But allow yourself to receive from others, and also receive from the universe, our invisible world, so to say, but is very visible to many of us. Honor the memories that you've experienced because they're all valid. Just because they're no longer here doesn't mean that those memories didn't exist. Honor those things. That's all part of the healing process. Grief will trigger things, okay? In our world right now, there's a lot of chaos that's happening, okay? When we are grieving, sometimes when those external triggers happen, it just takes our grief up a few notches. It turns the dial up. So you're really feeling that external trigger, but it's like the tip of the iceberg of what's possibly going on with you inside. And that might be something a little on the edge of. People are like, wow, how is that so? Well, you know what? It is, because if we are all connected like this beautiful tapestry, okay, we're all a thread in the tapestry of humanity, okay? So we're connected to other things and other events and other possibilities in not only this dimension, but multiple dimensions of what's happening with us individually, that thread, to the global collective basis. So this blanket is being tugged in one direction someplace else in the world, and we're being tugged with it. But it's like the collective consciousness, but also that aspect of us that's remembering maybe something that happened to us earlier in their life that is a mirror for that as well. So it's something to look at and to grieve, to be with that as well. Grieving is like a process of, learning how to adapt with the new. It's not about getting over it, because I don't think anybody ever gets over it. It's just you learn to live with a new possibility. And the most important is, like, if you need professional help, by all means, don't feel judged or criticized for needing that. It's about honoring yourself and tapping into what you feel you need and trusting that. Okay. And grief doesn't have a deadline. It just is. Many of us are still grieving stuff that happened to us from our childhood, or in the recent past as well. It's all there, and it all encompasses what the richness is of who we are as an individual and a human being. So, just remember, I think the most important thing is be kind to yourself, and just allow yourself the time that you need to feel like you're complete. You may never get complete. You may get to the point where it's like I was saying, sometimes it's like you're fine for a long period of time. You kind of resolve that and you've moved on with your new normal. And then all of a sudden you'll be thinking, music will come on out of nowhere that reminds you of something that you had lost, and the tears just come. And you know what? Just be with whatever is there, and don't feel embarrassed or, ashamed or whatever. Those things have to just go out of the doorway, because it is no longer that's not what this is all about. This is about you just embracing changes and shifts and moving forward on your terms. And, Yeah, Christine, thank you for that. I'll tell you, parents losing a parent is huge. I think, and I tell people this, I said, one of the things that most people will experience in this lifetime is the death of a parent. And, I would say at least 80% of the population will experience that in one shapes, or form. And, there are times when I'm sure, something reminds you of your father and you're just almost, you're just like this, you just melt down and it's just like, and it's okay. It's just like, you're just, remembering. I have this belief that when these episodes happen, it's almost as if the soul of that person is really close by to you and just wants to be acknowledged as well. So just feel what that feels like for you and just take that in as well. It's almost as if they're wanting to be remembered, or they're just, really close by, because that's you're feeling them. That's why you're being triggered. So just embrace that and just, be with that and just love it up, because the beauty is that just because somebody has passed away does not mean that they're not accessible. They just drop their physicality. They're vibrating at a higher dimension than what we can see, but everything's happening all at the same time. So they're very much here with us. A lot of times they're just vibrating at a higher frequency than what we are currently, so we don't see them physically. Yeah, so, and grief, like not only losing a parent or a loved one, pets. I mean, sometimes this is kind of funny. It's just like, I remember one time I had to put one of my cats down, and I really loved, and for pet owners and stuff like that, it's like there's that aspect of unconditional love and acceptance that radiates from a pet, an animal. That's where they live. They live in the state of pure love and being unconditional. And putting down an animal is just, it's so challenging. And here you are, I'm in the vet's office and I brought a friend with me. And, um, you know, I get to hold my baby as they gave her her shot, and as she took her last breath, and the tears are coming and coming, and she's also crying too. And she looked at me. She's over there. Why is it we cry more for our animals than we do for our human companions? And I just started busting out laughing, and I said, "That is so true." Oh my God! But it is the truth, and it's all part of the grieving process. You're going to have these episodes where you're just feeling it all, and it's just like you think of something funny, and it's just like it's not making light of it. It's just like all these emotions kind of get rotated and blend around and stuff like that. So just be with it and do your best just to step into that and know that you're okay. And it's going to be okay, because it always is. It's just working out to a new certainty, I guess, if you want to call it, or maybe a new normal, but it'll all work out. And when we're able to step into that and embrace whatever you're experiencing with, and just feel what it is that you're experiencing, it's like this little bubble that comes up of this emotion. And once you experience it, it pops and you're back to normal. Key important, experience everything you're feeling at this time, and it's okay. If you're raging mad, that's okay too. Feel it. Just don't punch a wall or anything and break your hand, okay? Don't do that. No bueno. Don't do that. But it's just like, feel that, witness it, and hit a pillow, go hit golf balls, go throw rocks in a stream, or whatever you need to do, but just work on moving that energy and getting it out of your system. So, we talked about you as a grieving person and what you may be experiencing and what you can do for yourself. When we come back, we're going to talk about what you could do to support somebody who's grieving, because I think for so many of us, we want to be helpful, yet we just don't know how to do that. And to the point that sometimes we just pull ourselves away and distance ourselves from the situation instead of just being fully present with them. I kind of give it the analogy of an Italian woman trying to talk, but she's sitting on her hands. It's like, what do? I just don't know what to do, because it's just like, yeah, it's just like, sit on your hands. I can't talk. I can't function. So it's like giving you possibilities of what you could do to support people around you who are going through a difficult time right now. So you are listening to the Dr. Dolores Show. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. And we're here talking about grief, navigating grief's journey, and moving forward. And so when we turn from our break, we'll be sharing more about how you could best support a person that you love who is going through grief.
Do you trust your instincts? Many of us don't. Yet this is the key to connecting to your innate healer within and your intuition. Tune in to the Dr. Dolores Show with nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, to receive insights and tools to realign with your inner wisdom for lasting health and true wellness. Listen for the Dr. Dolores Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Dr. Dolores Show with Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to Dolores at drdoloresfazzino.com. Now, back to the program.
Well, welcome back, everybody. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, and you're listening to the Dr. Dolores Show, and we're talking about grief and moving through that with a lot of grace and ease. And before we went on break, we were talking about, the grieving person and what you experience as you're grieving, and especially, when you lose a loved one. And decades could possibly go by and you're still grieving. And you know what? Grief is a lifelong process. It's like what I call the new normal. And it's not like it ever goes away. It's there, but it's like you're able to maneuver and move with it, just like a body of water moving down a stream or a river. It's just like sometimes there's bends and sometimes it's straight away, sometimes there's rapids. It's like grief could be like that. You're smooth sailing for a while, and all of a sudden you hit the rapids, and it's just like, oh my God, all hell's breaking loose, and I'm like losing my stuff, and then it's just like it calms down again. So it's about being in the flow with the journey of this and being okay with it. There's no wrong or right way to do this. It's just what it is. Many people have come to me and said, I know somebody who's going through a real major loss, and it's like, I just don't know what to say to them or how to best support them. And, let's talk about, how you can support somebody you love who's going through a very challenging time. Maybe they lost a brother or sister, an aunt and uncle, a family member, or even a spouse. Maybe they have lost a job. Maybe they lost their house. and are, living on the streets, just an extreme case, or maybe they're just, looking at the losses of opportunities that never happened for them and they're grieving the loss of that, or maybe they're even, going through a health challenge where they're, losing a limb or a body part or even an organ. I mean, these are all things that trigger grief. Or it also could be like, maybe they're in war-torn part of the world where they've lost everything. You know what I'm saying? We look at the instances around the world too, especially with the Ukraine, but also in the Middle East, of things that are happening where things were completely normal in 1 minute and then everything is just gone. So people grieve the loss of different things at different times. It's just not one thing. How you could best help somebody who is going through a grieving process is just what we call listen actively and just be fully present. Let the person express what's going on and just hold the container for them. Hold the container, hold the space, just be there and, do your best to just listen to what they're saying, not trying to bounce out of that and trying to fix it for them or figure it out. Just let them dump their basket and empty their basket so they could feel better for themselves. Offer your presence. Sometimes words aren't necessary. It's just about being there for them. And sometimes physical presence is emotional support. And even emotional support is just telling them, you know what, pick up the phone if you need anything, but also check in on them and just say, hey, I'm thinking about you. How are you? What's going on? And just let them, share what's going on with them. And, especially, in this day and age, it's so easy to communicate with anybody anywhere and around the world. So it's really good to just reach out to people and just say, hey, I'm thinking about you. How are you? Ask them how you could help. Just sometimes maybe all they need is somebody just to be there to listen. I think that's probably the most selfless thing a person could do for somebody else, is just ask them, how can I help you? Because sometimes we think we know what they need, but that's a bunch of baloney. It's just like, it's our projection of what we think they need onto them, which may be something completely different. Be patient, understanding, and compassionate. We all go through things, and yes, it's a process. It's not going to be, you're still, the worst thing you could even inflict into somebody, it's like, you haven't gotten over this yet. You need to get over this. That is like, that's like one of the worst things I think somebody could say to somebody. Because it is a process, we don't know all the things that are going on with this person. And to make a judgment call on that, I think that's so unfair, but also so unkind. Avoid, offering cliches like, "Oh, this too shall pass," or, everything happens for a reason. Maybe it does, but sometimes that's not what they want to hear in the moment. Sometimes if you have, sharing memories with them about, what they really loved about the person, or one of the funniest things that they remember ever happened. And, I think it's so important. Kindness is important, but also respecting their needs. Offering practical help. And like I said, check in with them regularly, because, sometimes they're in their own little world and they're just doing what they need to do to process what they're experiencing. Just check in with them and say, hey, I'm thinking about you. Yeah, and it's so true, because, when we share stories, it's just like, you really get a flavor and a piece of what that person's world is. And Christine, I agree with you. It's just like, I love hearing stories that, involve my parents as well, and from other people, because it just, validates, oh yeah, they really were a cool person. I'm not just making this up. Oh my God. Yeah. So, it's just like sometimes it's just, it could be painful for people too, because they may not want to hear that because it just triggers them. And it's something to be aware of. Um, if a person needs, if you think somebody is kind of having a very challenging time, and you feel that they may benefit from having some added support, by all means suggest some support, self-care, or anything of that matter, because or provide resources for them. And it's not like saying you need to go do this. It's just like, hey, what are your thoughts about blah blah blah? Are you thinking, are you feeling like you need some more support? Sometimes it's hard for people to really verbalize what they're going through when they're going through that, and they may not be aware that they may need that. But you, as an observer witnessing what's happening, you may need to be able to maneuver through that a little better for them. And most importantly, like we were saying earlier, just respect a person's grieving process. It's not, one-stop shop that everybody goes through a certain way. It is so uniquely and individual that, what, we do a huge disservice when we think that, everything's got to be in boxes and it has to look a certain way, because that's not how life is. So, just remember these things, like when you're working with somebody, the most important thing is just your physical presence sometimes, and just saying, you know what, I'm here for you. Just let me know how I could help you. Is there something that I could do for you to support you in any way? Just ask those type of questions and be fully present. Your person will probably totally appreciate that, maybe as they're going through this, or maybe more so after the fact. I think so many times it's a challenge for people to show up for somebody because they're in their own drama about their own grief and what grief's all about and stuff like that, and they're trying to fix it for other people. And please don't do that, because it's really interfering with karma. Did you know that when you try to fix somebody else or project what you think that other person should be doing, and trying to, that person making it, trying to, how, we suggest things to people, or sometimes we tell people what to do. It's not okay to do that. It's just like, ask what they need, they will tell you. When we try to project what we think another person needs or fix it for them, we do interfere with their karma. And I don't really want to be responsible for that. Do you? Because guess what? I would have more karma that I would have to deal with in another time and place. Oh, hell no. Anyway, so when we come back, we're going to go to our last segment here for break. And, you're listening to the Dr. Dolores Show, and we're talking about grief and moving through grief and becoming more resilient. And we're going to just kind of put everything together after we come back. So hold on to your seats, and we will be back after this break.
Do you trust your instincts? Many of us don't. Yet this is the key to connecting to your innate healer within and your intuition. Tune in to the Dr. Dolores Show with nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer, Dr. Dolores Fazzino, to receive insights and tools to realign with your inner wisdom for lasting health and true wellness. Listen for the Dr. Dolores Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is the Dr. Dolores Show with Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also send an email to Dolores at drdoloresfazzino.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to the Dr. Dolores Show. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. And we have been talking about grief and moving through grief today from the perspective of the person going through the grieving process, and from the perspective of how to best support a person going through the grieving process. And, lastly, we're going to talk about this. And this is so near and dear to my heart because of my background as a surgical assistant. People when they go through surgery, believe it or not, people go through a grieving process. If they're having, abdominal surgery and they have to take out, a bunch of body parts and stuff like that, or even if they have a limb, or, if a woman has to have her breast removed because of breast cancer, or even men with prostates, the body is going through a grieving process because that organ no longer is there. And we innately go through, a grieving process as well because of that. I bet you didn't know that, but it's the truth. So, it's so important when you are having surgery, okay, or, you need to have surgery, and you need to have a body part removed, is just pay reverence to the body part. Thank it for what it did for you, and how it supported you, and what it didn't do for you as well. Just thank it for that, and just love and appreciate it, and just allow it to go on to its next adventure. What this does, it brings the body into a neutrality, but also supports that healing process as well. So that's just a little sidebar, because this is part of grieving as well. If you know somebody who actually is going through a health crisis, they have the grieving of the loss of, that body part, but also maybe of not being able to do the things that they had been doing before, et cetera, et cetera. This could go on and on. So just as a reminder, just to keep that in mind. Now, let's talk about what we're going to be discussing next week, because, grief is, one big thing, but we're going to talk about radiant resilience, self-care secrets. And I think this is perfect after listening to everything about grief. We need to focus on what we're going to do with what we've been through, how we're going to move forward, and to grasp the knowledge and the wisdom that we've attained from what we've experienced. So just a little bit about next week's show. In this empowering episode of Radiant Resilience, we deep dive into the world of self-care and nurturing the spirit, and should be body and soul too. We're going to discover the transformative power of self-care practices that can elevate your well-being and ignite your spirit. In this thought-provoking conversation, we'll explore the transformative power of self-care practices, guiding you towards a more balanced, radiant, and resilient life. In a world that is constantly filled with demands and challenges, self-care isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity. In this day and age, it's an absolute must. Learn how to embrace self-care as a means to fortify your resilience. And we're going to emphasize the importance of mindfulness, meditation, and holistic approaches to self-care while keeping it simple and accessible. And I am going to open up my tool trough and share some tools that I find that are very, very helpful for that as we are heading into the holiday seasons. And it's good for any time of the year as well. So tune in to uncover the secrets of living a more balanced and radiant life. And you don't want to miss our enlightening discussion on self-care's profound impact on your spirit and overall well-being. Join us on the journey towards radiant resilience. So please stay tuned next week, because I think you're going to enjoy this episode. So let's recap what we've talked about today, circling back to grief. And just remember that it's all about kindness, love, appreciation, acceptance. It's about being kind to yourself and to the other person who's going through whatever they're going through. It's about appreciating who they are, what maybe the other person brought to the table as somebody who is passed away or the person is grieving. But it's also about accepting what is as it is without judging or criticizing it, and just knowing that, and asking the universe to give us the wisdom behind this. What is it? I'm experiencing this, and tell me more of why this is so. Just be with those moments. The grieving process is endless. It's not a finite thing. It's going to constantly morph and flow with you on your life's path. And it's also going to enrich and give you opportunities to look deeper and maybe look at things in a different perspective than you ever thought before. When you're able to embrace all of that and come to, I call your still point, that point within yourself where you're fully present, this is where your resilience is going to stem from, and it's going to flourish. And you're going to be able to move and navigate through your life with so much grace, love, and ease. It's about really stepping into your power through the grieving process. I feel that sometimes when we don't allow ourselves to grieve, we really rob ourselves of our true potential and possibility as a human being, because this is an experience that's going to enrich us and allow us to grow at a very deep and profound level. It's not for sissies. It takes courage. It takes bravery just to be with all of that you're experiencing. It's an essential part of being a human being, especially the part about experiencing the emotions. Please experience those emotions. They are gold nuggets for you that are going to allow you to transform your life, your body, mind, and soul on such a deep level that you'll be thanking yourself when you're on the other side of this and you could see the forest through the trees. Okay. When you're in the middle of it, it kind of is, it's tough, but know that you will get through this. Continue to ask for help and support, and just be kind to yourself. I think in our world today, what we can do for self-care is just be kind, allow ourselves to be an experience, and just know that you will move through this a lot quicker than you know. So thanks everybody for being here. You are listening to the Dr. Dolores Show. I'm Dr. Dolores Fazzino, nurse practitioner, medical intuitive, and energy whisperer. And I help people bridge the physical with the spiritual and the invisible with the visible. For those of you who have problems being in the present moment, I have a meditation for you. If you go to my website at drdoloresfazzino.com, you could get access to that. It will help you stay in the present moment so you could be right here, right now, in the moment. See you next time. Take care. Bye now.
Thank you for listening to the Dr. Dolores Show. Dr. Dolores returns Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Until then, remember to be kind to yourself and create your best life. You are worth it.